Hey there, my name is Star, and today I'd like to talk about building words. Now, if you haven't come across this thing yet, you will soon, which is a little observation around words that goes something like this. When I use a word, how do I know if your definition of the word is the same as my definition? Now, for many words and for many discussions, you realize that people have different definitions, different understandings, different experiences. They use words in different ways. These are particularly with buzzwords or fundamental words or words that sort of encapsulate the conversation. What is the conversation about? What is the conversation on? What is it that we're really discussing? What is it that we're really trying to convey? Now, when you realize this, you can take this to mean that, well, it means you have to define the words. It means you have to work to a common understanding. It might make this feeling of, well, the conversation is pointless come up. Well, actually, there's a way through this. There's a way to understand this, and that is to embrace this insight. It's to embrace this understanding that we use words differently, and then to go ahead and build your own understanding of that word and express your own understanding of the word. Now, that is really where the work begins. That really is how we start this journey towards understanding each other and expressing ourselves. And the manner by which we do this is hopefully compassionate, hopefully peaceful, hopefully with an open mind and an open heart to come into the conversation without being antagonistic, without being hurtful, without being aggressive. And even with all that on your side, it's still going to be a work to build the word. Now, for many words, there's actually things that you have to break down about it, misunderstandings, ways in which the word has been misused or wrongly used. In the same way that when you build a building, in some cases, you have to tear down the old building first. So if you look at certain words, you realize that they are malleable to a certain degree, and also they have their own cultural and historical baggage. Further still, they are often associated with certain paradigms, right? Like if I say a word like transcendence or phenomenological experiencing or self-awareness, right? These words, they're already starting to bring up a kind of sense of the paradigm that they come from. You're starting to get a certain impression to a certain amount. Now, if I say other words like God, salvation, Jesus, Moses, right? That immediately brings up something else again. Now, let's try one more example. Ayahuasca, psychedelics, Terence McKenna. Right? Now, to whatever degree you have a sense of any of these phrases, they do something, right? They don't do nothing. And the work is, well, how much have these words been brought about by their cultural phenomenons? How much history do they have? And how often is it that they imply certain things? Right? How often is it that Terence McKenna is associated with psychedelic experiences? Well, actually very often, right? That's not a far stretch. How often is it that Jesus is associated with psychedelic experiences? Well, not very often. That's not what he's first most known for. Now, of course, it has been that Jesus has been associated with psychedelic experiences and his understanding and his experiences and his teachings and all the rest of it. And that's very interesting, right? But the connection is the work. The expression is the work. The understanding is the work. Now, how you build a word. There's many ways in which you can go about building a word. First of all, start by acknowledging the common ways in which the word is used. Then go on to explain less common ways and more historical ways in which the word is used. Then you can go on to explain how the word is wrongly used, how it doesn't actually express the right thing, and how there are misunderstandings, pathologies, confusions around the word. Now that goes a long way for it. That's very good, but there are actually deeper steps. There are more truthful steps to building a word. And that is to come back to your personal experience of the word. Let's look at an example. Let's take the word God. G-O-D, God. Now, of course, there's a very vast, broad, and historical weight behind the word God. So to work with that is going to take a lot, right? But to start with, you can just say, well, traditionally, in some ways, God means a man in the cloud that is all-powerful and has some sort of connection with us humans down here on earth. God can mean some sort of entity that works with and influences and intertwines with the story of humanity, and so on and so forth. Now, that's very different to a personal experience, right? That's very different to me saying, what is it that happened to me that brought forth this urge to use this word, God? What environment was I in? What happened before, during, and after this experience? What sensations in the body did I have? What sort of thought patterns came to me? What sort of things do I say about it? What did I say before and after about it? How is it that I would go about reconstructing such an experience, such an unfolding? Who is it that I know that has had a similar experience, and how have they helped me? How have they brought me to that understanding? That's very different to a cultural and historical analysis, right? Now, when you're building a word, you want both. When you're taking on a very big word like God, it's the full spectrum, right? And in many ways, it's a thing that we come back to again and again. What is God? What does God mean to you? Right? There's an amazing book by Reza Aslan called God, A Human History. And that's a beautiful explanation of the evolving of this word God, the unfolding of this word God through human history, and how it's affected through prehistoric ages to agricultural and early settlement ages, and then the industrial age and the technological age, and even beyond, right? So there's a vast wealth of information and understanding between many different parts of life and understanding that bring us to build words. Now, I do have an online course on developmental psychology, and that helps explain value spheres and paradigms and how words are understood and constructed. So if you'd like to know more about this, it's a very deep subject. We don't have time to get into it now. Follow the link in the description of the video and enroll in my online course on developmental psychology.